Field fighting in Rise of Kingdoms is Rise of Kingdoms. That's like the most fun thing to do in the game. And though I love garrisoning and I love rallying, it's field fighting, guys. We all love to get in the field, push the enemy, get them off a flag, get the flag burned, go to the next flag, big murder ball fights and all that. All of that we love to do. And so this is the video that's going to update the murder ball guide I've got, your field march guide. What are the best 7 marches to run? What are the best 5 marches to run? What are the best 6, 7 different combinations? We're going to go through all the different scenarios. If you're running 1 archer, 2, 3, same with calves and infantry, and maybe siege. What? No, I don't want to do that. But we're going to get you set up to do the best you can in the field, to set up your murder ball. What are the best commanders? What's the best setup right now? Hey everybody, I'm your boy War Daddy Chatsky. I do Rise of Kingdoms videos, all the time. And if you enjoy these videos or you get anything out of them whatsoever, if they help you, please hit that like button. Helps out the channel, helps out the videos a ton. Also, if you're not subscribed, consider doing so. Doesn't cost you anything. And you can hit that bell if you want to get any alerts when I put out content like this. And we're in the middle of our video giveaways for the month of April and May. We're into May now. And we're going to be giving away a $10 flux for every video that we do. All you have to do to enter to win is comment on this video. I love the comments. I love interacting with people. You guys know me. I'm a man of the people. I ain't hard to find. And I'm very easy to talk to. But with the comments, I have got to announce a winner from the last video. This is all about Hyam. Hyam's video that I did, I'll have a card in the top. Is he going to be a garrison that's going to bring the archers really back to meta in the garrison? But John Bass gave us a cool comment here. First time here. A friend recommended you to me. I got to say, I love your content and your knowledge on these commanders. Thank you, John. Appreciate you, buddy. That was randomly selected, and you guys can go back through and see all of my comments there as well. So, John Bass, good job, man. You get the $10 flux. Okay. We're going to get into this, and we're going to go through exactly how to set up your March lineups and what we're doing. Right now in the state of Rise of Kingdoms, it's really pretty simple. We have got some different situations with infantry and cavalry and archers, all right? With infantry, now that Sun Tzu Prime is in the game, and you have multiple different ways to pair him. You can do a lot of different things with him. Of course, Luce, still meta today. Gonna be meta for a long time. BQ, he's in the running as well. William Wallace now has some serviceability. CPO has some serviceability now with his support tree overhaul that they did last month. And so you've got all these different types of commanders that you can use, all these different types of commanders that can go, and it's a real easy setup for infantry with 2 marches. All right, for cavalry, it's the same type of thing, except it's a little different. Cavalry's got some different options. You can think about Huo when you've got a Wedge 2.0 or the Heraldic series going on here with the inscriptions. Obviously, you've got Achilles, you've got Arthur, super powerful commanders. Gang, really, really good commander, does a ton of healing. So you got a bunch of combo going on with cavalry with a little bit of an effect of skill damage. We'll talk about that. And then, of course, you got my boy here. That is absolutely my favorite commander. He's incredible, unbelievable. Do you use him in the field? I don't know. We'll talk about that a little bit. From there, we'll talk about our boys in the archer class, okay? You guys know me. I've been criticized for being an archer hater in this game. I am not. I love archers. I love to run 2 archers if we can. We just haven't had that many applications, but archers are in a good place now because not only do we have Chen, we've got Herman, we've got Zuge, we got YSG, who has been kind of reignited or reborn with Chen, and then we've got like Shajar. What do we do with her? You know, she's kind of been meh in the field, but there might be some new applications. We got Ash that runs the rallies, and you can use them in the field. But most importantly, we've got the new archer commanders coming into the game, and with Alp Arslan, okay, he has got some crazy things that he does. Now, he's only single target, but he does some really interesting things to where he does some damage and like a chin level, a chin effect where you're doing red numbers everywhere, but he's doing it through the target to an AoE of the target. It's weird. It's really weird, but it works really well. His third skill is just off the charts here. And this is the stuff we're going to have to test and see. But this provides some crazy amplifications if you're putting out debuffs on the target, if you're putting out poison stacks, if you're doing slows, if you're doing normal debuffs, whatever it might be. So you can use this guy in a lot of different areas. And then he's got the other effect where if you're buffing marches, okay, with the malevolence effect, if you're buffing marches, he gives this malevolence effect to where he's actually gonna have a 50% chance to heal a percentage of slightly wounded units when dealing direct damage or true damage, okay? And it's equal to 20% of that damage factor. That's what's really weird about this guy. And it's only got a 3-second cooldown. He does some such weird things to where if you're buffing marches, he's gonna do all kinds of cool stuff there. If you're debuffing marches, he's gonna do cool stuff there. And even though he's a single target damage commander, he's laying down massive damage when it comes to the pierced effect that he does. Okay, it's really, really cool. So we got all kinds of stuff to talk about it when it comes to the archers, but we're going to start with infantry. Okay, and I'm going to have different sections of the video to where you can skip ahead to whatever you want. Okay, if you want to look at the cavalry setup I've got, if you want to look at the archer setup I've got, if you want to look at how I set this thing up for the murder ball, you can skip ahead to whatever you want. I'm going to go through each troop type. And each troop type is going to have their list of kind of the best 1, 2, 3, 4 march lineups, okay, per troop type. And then I'm going to apply it to the murder ball at the end, okay? So cavalry's in a real good place, like I told you about, okay? We've got all kinds of different combo commanders going on. You've got some skill damage commanders. We talked about this. And so let's look at this when it comes to cavalry, okay? Because the cavalry is really, really important and one of those things that we want to kind of understand when it comes to running in the field, okay? I'm going to put up my best cavalry setup here. All right. And for me, I know there's different arguments here, but for me, if you're running one march, okay, and that's what we'll do. I'll go through one march of the best, then a 2 march lineup, then a 3 march lineup, and a 4 march lineup, and mix and matching however you want to do it, okay? So for a cavalry setup, the 1 march lineup, I think Arthur and Achilles, best cavalry march you can run. Insane DPS, super fast, does all the things, okay? And so the combos go off the charts. You can run it with drums, you can run it with anything you want. You got instant proc, you got AoE damage, just super high powerful damage commander. That's what I like to run. A lot of people would say, hey, Gang Achilles is my #1 march, and that's fine. You can run that too, but most people just have Arthur. So if you're saying, Chadsky, I'm going 1 cav march, I've already got Arthur, do I get Achilles? Absolutely yes. Get Achilles. That's your best march, okay? If you are running a 2 march lineup, all right, really pretty simple for me. You stick with 2 combo marches where you run Gang and Achilles and Arthur with Hector, okay? That is your best 2 cav lineup if you're sticking to combo. All right. And here's the interesting part about this. When it comes to this situation with cavalry, we're in a weird spot because we don't even have 4 next gen combo commanders for cavalry. We have 3, and then we've got Hector. Okay, now that's how versatile Hector is. He can be anything, and he's a combo commander when you put him with calves. But we're sitting over here just saying, hey, we've only got Achilles, we've only got Arthur, and we've only got Gang. Those are only the 3 commanders that are true combo cavalry commanders in the end game. So we need that 4th one coming as fast as possible. They can't get here fast enough. And so in the meantime, you can run Hector, and because Delta's so powerful and these other commanders are so powerful, you can actually make that thing work, okay? Now, if you were in a situation to where you're like, Chadsky, I've got a wedge set, I'm going to convert it to the Herald Series Wedge 2.0. Let me help explain, okay? I've got the same thing, all right? And since I run Huo, or I run a skill damage march, I'm just using that with the Wedge 2.0. This is now a situation where everybody runs the wedge formation. It got a bonus now because you got 12% more skill damage now, so it's gotten an enhancement on the wedge, and they've added these special and rare inscriptions for each slot. And that's what we're going to do. And they're going to do it eventually for Delta. They're going to do it eventually for Pincer. But this is so powerful, okay, that it's actually helped us helped us realize that you've got older commanders that are skill damage that might actually work. We might have the same thing for infantry. Even though pincer is overpowering, we might have the same thing there. So with that being said, you can argue if you want to go to a better 2-march lineup, okay? So this is what I'm saying for 2 smites. Or I'm sorry, for 2 combo. If I want to run 2 cavalry marches and they both need to be combo, that's what I would run. If I wanted to run the best 2 sets that you can get, bar none, I would set it up just like this. I'd put gang down here. I'd run Arthur Achilles, okay? And then from there, I'm sorry, not Arthur Achilles. I'd run gang Achilles, and then from there, I would bring in the Joan, and I would run Joan with Arthur. Joan with Arthur, just so everybody understands here, okay? Now, it's super fast, and you're going to get stuck in a situation to where it's super glass cannony. But Joan and Arthur, all right, lays down as much, if not more, DPS than just about any march out there, not named Chin, right? Joan does her effect where she runs her Sacred Banner effect every other skill cycle. She gets to fire off twice, okay? When you couple that with Arthur as a skill damage commander hitting 3 targets, I mean, it is just gobs of damage, all right? And when that is enhanced with the Herald Series Wedge new inscriptions, it's just off the chart. So you can run that, okay? If you don't have gang and you're like, Chadsky, I want to run a 2-march lineup with skill damage, then pull him down. You can keep Arthur with Achilles, and then it's easy. You can go run Huo with Joan. Or you can go run a Nevsky with Joan, okay? Because the Herald series does crazy stuff. You can still get to that skill damage situation. If you don't have those special and rare inscriptions for the Herald series, I do not recommend running skill damage cavalry. I just do not recommend that, okay? If you want to run the best 3 marches, okay, we're going to get back to that. Gang and Achilles, all right? And Arthur with Hector. And then easily you go into that Huo Joan lineup for the 3rd one, okay? Now, a lot of people will say, Chadsky, I don't have gang. How do I run this? No problem. If you don't have gang, it's real simple, all right? Whether you're running 2 smite marches like this, or you're running 3 marches and you're bringing in a skill damage march, if you don't have gang, all right, just run Attila with Achilles. If you guys haven't run this thing, it's cracked, man. And if you got any arch stuff whatsoever with Attila and the arch formation, you got any of those rare and special inscriptions, it cooks, man. You don't, gang, I always say this, is a skippable commander. If you don't have the heads to go max him, but you've got an Attila and you want to run 2 cavalry and you want to run 2 combo, this is the best way to do it. Run it with Attila. Okay, you got players out there that have never tried this and are using it, and they're like, dang, Jadsky, you were right. This thing is insane. It is. The Attila Achilles march is like literally the perfect march. Tanky, prickly, fast, damage, enhancements, all the different things. So with that being said, that's what you can do, okay? But if I was running a 3-march lineup and I kind of had unlimited, this is probably how I would run it. That's probably how I would want to do it, okay? If you want to go 3-march lineup of full combo, okay, enter David. This is where you want to run Attila David. I specialize in this. I run this all the time. If you are running a bunch of combo commanders, okay, David brings an element here with his 4th skill that works in the field, where he's going to lay down a 40% more combo attack damage debuff. So the target takes 40% more combo damage for 3 seconds. Okay, this is fantastic. When you're running a lineup to where you've got this many combo commanders, you're going to be doing so much damage to the target. So there is a 3-march lineup with full combo, okay? So it's really pretty simple. 3-march lineup with 1 skill damage march, 3-march lineup with full combo, go rock and roll. And then if you want to add a 4th march, or you're one of those cavalry psychopaths that, like, I'm running 4 cavalry, Chadsky, that's what I'm doing. You can run the 3 combo setup and then just simply add your Huo and Joan. Or if you want to run a 2 combo setup and you want to do 2 skill damage, okay, there's other different ways that you can do that. If you really want to try to pull this thing off, I guess there's other ways that you can do that. You can say, okay, I'm going to run gang Achilles I'm going to run Attila with David. And then let's see here. I'm going to go with a, where are we at? I'm going to go with a Nevsky and Joan. And then I'm going to go with a Huo and Arthur. Okay, you could run it that way, or you could switch those up, and you could run Huo with Joan and Nevsky with Arthur. That's probably the best way you could do that, one way or another. You could probably bring in Hector and maybe run Gang with Hector, and then go run like, I don't know, Achilles behind Attila. You could probably do it that way. So there are all kinds of different ways to do that. I wouldn't recommend it if you're running one single march. You're either running this guy here or you're running this guy. Okay, if you're running two marches, you're running this guy here with this, and that's 2 combo. Okay, if you're running 3 marches with full combo, you run that. If you're running 3 marches with skill damage, you're probably running something like this. And if you're running 4 marches, you just got to get crazy with it, okay? But that's what you're looking at for cats. We cannot get these new cav commanders that are probably coming out either in the summer or late summer and early fall, when it depends on the next cycle. And so that's what we're looking at for cavalry. Okay, let's go to the archers. Now let's talk about the infantry. Okay, infantry's in a great spot right now. All right, infantry has got some really good setups. Of course, we talked about it before. You've got great smite marches. You have a plethora of things you can work on. But with CPO now getting the upgrade with the support tree, and with the fact that we now have, let me pull it up here from my Huo, you have the setup to where you can actually run the Herald series of Wedge 2.0, or the Wedge, the new Wedge special and rare inscription. So with that being said, we've got some interesting dynamics when it comes to infantry, and let's talk about them. Let me pull up the infantry setup here on the tier list, and this is what I've got. Okay, we're gonna run this thing. And if you are running just one infantry march, like that's it, you're running one infantry march, and the best infantry march you could run is probably going to be a Sun Tzu with BQ. Pretty simple. Okay, great synergies together. The malice stacks work. That helps the Sun Tzu rage. There's all kinds of different things that you do there. You could run Sun Tzu with Luce. People have the same kind of results when it comes to what their best march is if they just run one infantry march. So if you don't have BQ and you've got Sun Tzu and Luce, you can go crazy with that. So that's your best one infantry march, right? Sun Tzu and BQ. Now it's set up really with infantry to where it's got 2 phenomenal marches when you go to 2 marches. All right. Sun Tzu and Wallace, insane. Absolutely insane. I know you think like, hey, that's single target. It's not really. You're laying down so much single target damage that translates into AoE with Sun Tzu. It is so good. People who run this, they just love it. Like, it just works really well. And then BQ and Luce, those are your 2 best marches if you're wanting to go straight smite, okay? Now, we talked about this when it comes to if you do not have William Wallace, okay? If you don't have William Wallace and you're in a situation where you're running Sun Tzu with BQ, okay, well then what do you run from there? There's a couple different options. A lot of people will say you can easily run Luce with Philip, which is a good march. You can even run Luce with Hector. But what I prefer is that you stick with technically a second smite march, but it's a CPO Luce. CPO Luce is the new Luce Alex. It's insane. It's incredible. Let's come back and get a little refresher on CPO. Number one, we talked about this to where he's got the enhancement, or he's got the the new overhaul of the support tree that makes him so much tankier. But you forget about his kit, or outside of the fact that the damage isn't that much in today's 2026 levels, he's still got that health debuff, which is great. He's got a lot of attack. He's got a ton of march speed, especially outside of Alliance territory. He's got good health. He's always been just a really good balanced commander. But one of the reasons why he works so well with Luce is because, as we all know, Luce is the OG combo commander. So he makes instant procs fire off more often. Okay, that's why he works with he worked with Achilles so well, or I'm sorry, with Alex so well, and it's why he works with Philip so well. Well, it's the same reason. It's why he works with CPO. So you run this instant proc that is 1500 damage. Okay, I don't like the cooldown on it, but it's really, really good. And so you've got other things. CPO has always been a really good commander. Well, now with that new support tree overhaul, it works out exceptionally well. So that's how I really, really like to run a 2-march setup if you do not have William Wallace and you run this with Pincer. You don't run it with, let me pull this down here. You don't run it with Wedge or even Wedge 2.0. You run it with Pincer because the majority of the damage you're doing is from Smite. So you want to enhance that as much as you can. So that's how you can run that, okay? So from there, if you're going 3 marches, let me show you what I would do there. I put this up as a second one, put this up as the third one. If you want to run 3 marches with two Smite, and that's how you want to run it, I'm going to run it with BQ and Hector, and then I'm going to run it with Luce and Philip. Absolutely amazing. Or you can run it with BQ and Hector, and you can run it with CPO and Luce, okay? BQ Hector, y'all don't know about that? That's why Hector's so freaking good. Okay, Hector is a crazy good single target Smite commander, and you can easily run BQ and Hector, and then you can put your CPO with Luce, or you can run Luce with Philip and work that just fine too. Okay, so there's multiple ways that you can do that for a 3 Smite combo. And so a 3 Smite setup with your 3 infantry. So that's basically how you can run that, okay? If you want to do 3 infantry marches and you want one of them to be skill damage, and now we're going to pull Ragnar off the bench, and with CPO's setup to where CPO is running the support tree, and now you've got the Herald series. Let me tell you why the Herald series is really important, okay? Now, this isn't necessarily bringing Ragnar back into meta. Oh my God, you got to run him. But what happens is that when you're able to apply, let me see here, when you're able to apply some of these wedge formation, the Hunter is probably the most common. This is more of a single target damage inscription. Well, with Advantage Advance, this is much, much better to hit AoE, okay? Much better to hit AoE. And so from that standpoint, it gives some different things that CPO and Ragnar can do. So now CPO and Ragnar can be put in a 3-march lineup and nobody would bat an eye. If you want to go 3 infantry with 2 smite and 1 skill damage, that's how you can run it. Pretty easy and simple, okay? Now, we've done this if you want to run 3 infantry with 3 smite, 3 infantry with 2 smite and 1 skill damage. Now let's go to 4 infantry, and it's pretty simple. You just put CPO and Ragnar down here. You have to run skill damage if you're running 4 infantry. Some of you psychos out there like Sasuke, some of you guys running so much infantry, that's kind of how you have to run it. In addition to that, we've got to set this thing up, and I would probably do it just like this. You got to bring in the 2 leadership commanders. You run BQ with Hector. You run Luce with Philip. You can even run CJ in there if you want to. There's other ways that you can do that, but that's how I would set up my 4-march lineup when it comes to infantry. And you got to bring in 1 skill damage, but you can still run a whole bunch of smite, a whole bunch. Okay, so that gives you a good idea exactly how we're going to work the infantry. So now let's go on to the archers. Where are they at here? Let's pull these guys up and let's talk about the archers, shall we? All right, archers are kind of in a weird dynamic here, but they are really, really getting more and more potent. We'll talk about Alp Arslan here in a few, but Chen has kind of revived the archers in the field. They needed a hefty shot in the arm. The only problem is they gave us Shajar and she hasn't been ideal in the field. However, there's some different things that are being done when it comes to Alp Arslan that really, and I talked about it earlier in the video, that we can really kind of start applying debuffs and buffs. So there might be some synergies here. Okay. And so let's get into this and talk about it. Okay. Because we've got a little bit of adjustments that go on when it comes to our boy Alp Arslan. This is our boy here. He's got to do some crazy stuff, and you can put him with Hector. You can put him with Shajar. Heck, you can even put him with Philip. And if you're only running 1 archer march, you can probably put him with Chen, because that's probably your 2 most powerful commanders. He definitely has a Sun Tzu feel to him, okay? So let's pull this up here. Here's our archers. If I'm running 1 archer march, and that's it, just 1 archer march, it's really pretty simple. It's Chen with Alp Arslan. Okay, we'll test that out and see how much better that does. And outside of that, it's either Chin with YSG or Chin with Zuge. You can run any of these things. It's crazy good, guys. It's Chin with anybody is going to be your best march. It doesn't really matter. Hell, I even ran Chin with Shajar. And the reason why is because I wanted that Shajar normal damage buff for the healing to go off as much as possible because I was running all smite and combo. Okay, so there's all kinds of different ways you can do that. All right, and so from there, if I'm running a 2-march setup, if I'm going to run a 2-march setup with my archers, and this is probably what I'm going to run, okay? I'm probably going to take Zuge over YSG because I like the debuffs that you lay down, and then I'm going to run Alp Arslan with Herman. Or better yet, you run Herman primary in that setup, okay? Because Herman primary is going to do much, much better when it comes to the support tree that he does. So let me pull that up where I've actually got Herman primary, and that's how I'm gonna run 2 archers. I think with the debuffs that Herman does, you're gonna infect with Alp. He's like an infectious commander. He's like carrier monkey commander. He's gonna put those debuffs on the target that Herman's given you, and then it's gonna spread the other target. It's just gonna stack up all the poison stacks. It's gonna be pretty insane. That's how I would run my 2 archer lineup. But there's other ways that you can do that. If you want to run them with Shajar, you can do that as well. You can either run Shajar primary and get a lot more skill damage out of that. That's going to be a single target nuker with Shajar and Alp. Or you can run it with Shajar secondary and you can get a lot more healing out of it with Alp and Shajar. So there's other different ways you can run that second march, but that's how I really like to do it, okay? So let's talk about it if you're going to 3 marches, all right? If you're going to 3 marches, you're gonna bring YSG in with Chin. Okay, very easy way to do that. You bring YSG with Chin and then you try to figure it out from there. And what I like to do from there is I like to run either Zuge with Philip, or I like to run, where's my Zuge with Ash? Or you can run Zuge with Ash, and then you can run that Alp Arslan with Herman, or you run Herman primary in that case. All right, if you want to keep Zuge with Herman, there's other ways that you can do that. That's when you bring in Shajar. You can run Zuge Herman here, or you can run Herman Zuge. That's the best way to do it, obviously, with the support tree that we've talked about. And then you can run Alp with Shajar, primary, secondary, whichever way you want to set that up. That's a great 3-march lineup. And if I was running it, that's probably how I would run 3, okay? And for you psychopaths out there that are running 4, we're just going to do it like this. We're going to put Alp here at second with Shajar. Okay, and then we're going to bring in that Zuge Ash, and then we're going to bring in the Herman Tommy. Okay, laying down so many stacks of poison. That's how I would run my 4 archer lineup and go cook with it. There's other ways you can do that, y'all, but with Alp Arslan, you got a whole bunch of different combinations you can run. You can put Philip behind him, okay, because he does the malevolent and he does the benevolent and malevolent effects, okay? And so just a quick reminder on how those things work. It's really, really pretty simple. His 3rd skill is really interesting because he does all those different things when it comes to the debuffing, and he's got the pierce effect where he's doing a lot of damage, but he's also laying down more debuffs that you're putting on the target, and it affects 3 other enemies that are enemy troops that aren't targets. It's crazy. And then on the buffing side, he does crazy healing when he's using the malevolence factor where he's got buffs and you're running those buffs up to 5 times. That's why like a Shajar and a Philip might work out pretty well. Okay, so there's your archers. That gives you an idea there. And now let's talk about the overall murder ball lineup. So let me pull this thing up here, okay, as we're going to talk about the ultimate murder ball lineup. All right, now I'm going to do this a way that's really pretty simple. Now that I went through multiple marches of each troop type, you can pick and choose whatever you want, but I'm going to go through, like, if I'm just running 4 marches, what I would like to run. This is just for me personally, okay? If I'm running 4 marches right now and that's it, I would do heavy on the calves, heavy on the archers and heavy on the infantry, and then run the best I could with calves. I'd probably do it like this. I'd probably run let me see, my Alp with Herman, but you run Herman primary there. I'd run Zuge Zuge with Chen, and then I would go to my setup with infantry. That's how I would run 5 marches. Okay, best way for me to do that. If I was just going to run 4 marches in this setup, I would probably from here look to bench the Wallace and bench the Luce, or you could run Luce with Sun Tzu, and that's probably how I'd run it. You keep the archers in there because I think they're going to be absolutely crazy. If you're going to run that with 2 calves, you could run it like this. You could pull this down, and you could run Alp Arslan however you want there, maybe behind Chin, and then you can bring in a second cav setup and then get gang in there. There's multiple different ways, but going back to what I would run, if I was running 5 marches and that's what I wanted to run, I would run it with Arthur and Achilles. I would run it with Sun Tzu and Wallace. I'd run it with BQ and Luce, and then I would bring in that Alp Arslan with Herman and run Chin with Zuge. Okay, so if you were running 6 marches, okay, it's really pretty simple. You're going to run the best of the best that you can on each one. That means you're going to put the gang, and then you're going to put the Arthur with Huo there. Okay, the 2 combo setup, the 2 smite setup, and then your archer setup with Alp Arslan behind Herman. Okay, and that's your 6 march lineup. That's the best you're going to be able to do. Okay, now if you have like 3 archers and only 1 infantry, just refer back to the infantry and archers categories that I already went through. All right, and run whatever you want. If you want to run 3 cavalry and 1 archer, just refer back to those that you could run. But this is basically what I did for each troop type. It's set up your murder ball depending on what you had. I tailored it for you guys. And so from there, this is your 6 march lineup. If you want to go to 7 marches, okay, then you can easily add that 3rd march of whichever troop type, or you can add these guys. Okay, typically I almost act like these guys don't exist, but they do exist, and they're really potent. But a Gajamada, okay, with Cordoba is pretty nuts. Okay, so if you're going to run a 6 march lineup and you want to get the best of everything you can, you want to run it like this. But then at the same time, let me just shrink this up just a little bit so it sets up a little bit better. You run it like this, but then at the same time, you just add that 7th march for either siege or a 3rd cav march. Refer back to the cavalry section. A 3rd infantry march, go back to the infantry section. A 3rd archer march, go back to the archer section. So that gives you an idea of the best murder ball lineups to run right now in 2026. Okay, with the new commander Arslan coming in for the archers, we get to finally run 2 archers now. It's going to be great. It's going to be a lot of fun. We'll find out more with him. I'm going to instant max him, and then we'll go cook with him. And like I said, guys, if you enjoy these videos, throw a thumbs up on it, give it a like. I love doing these types of videos, and I want you to get down in the comments to enter for your chance to win a $10 Flux. I'll announce it in the next video, but I love the comments. I love your feedback. I love everything about doing these videos and interacting with the community. Also, my Discord link is down in the description. You could pull that up and get into my Discord. I ain't hard to find. I'm easy to tag there. And if you want to ask any other questions, I've also got a great team of people there that are great with new players, that are great with players trying to figure out their marches. So please do that. And with all that being said, whoo, you have a great day, broskies.